Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Wherever you are, you're right here with us here on Co-working Live with Red Worldwide. And we are so excited to have you here today. I am just excited about this particular broadcast because, of course, we know that Tuesdays are our legacy days. So when you're watching this, I don't know what day you're watching it because you're probably going to be watching the re-recording of this or the display of it on some local social media. However, it's Tuesday for us today. And so we know that today is the legacy day and we talk about legacy and all that legacy means to us in business as individuals. And we just really want to be intentional about building legacy. And so with that said, today we're going to break it down. We have been talking about legacy from different standpoints, but we're just going to deep dive today in what it takes to actually run a family legacy business. Okay. And when I say that, I want to be really serious about it because I know that some of us, when we're talking about running a family business, we think about this generation. Okay. We have a family business and we started it in maybe 1970 or 1980, and we've been running it, but we don't necessarily think about passing it along to generations and generations and generations. And I just want to tell you that there are some people who are intentional about never letting their family legacies die. And so we seen probably on social media and some other places in the news and maybe on television in a documentary about these different families, the Rothschilds and I've seen some things about the Gettys, and I've even talked about a few different families, that we might know about in our era, that have been running family businesses for maybe 3 or 4 generations. But we're going to talk about what it takes to run a family business, to pass it down from generation to generation, to make sure that the family business is worth what it needs to be worth so that it can be passed down from generation to generation. And I'm going to take a look at some families today in a case study, or I think I'll do a few case studies, to talk about what their businesses are and how they've run those businesses. And so with that said, Javon, can you throw up my first slide and let's get going. Okay. So today, I think we need to go to slide 1. Thank you. So today we're talking about creating lasting legacies in business. And I know that for some of you, that is a huge desire. I've talked to a few people who frequent co-working, and they've talked about wanting to create a lasting legacy, having a business that will pass down for generations, not allowing the business to die with them. And they've even placed the business in their trust or in some sort of a vehicle that will make sure that it continues beyond them. I've written a few books on this exact subject. And so, then you should know how near and dear it is to my heart to be able to pass something down. And so with that said, let's go to slide 1, because I want us to really look at, what we're going to be talking about today and how we'll break these things down, the key concepts down so that you'll be able to take away something that makes sense. So in this particular session, we're going to really look at the legacy building for entrepreneurs segment. We'll talk about legacy building for people who are running companies that may have been, that they may have purchased, or it might be a franchise. We'll talk about that on a different day. But today we really are talking about people who had an entrepreneurial endeavor and they started the company themselves. Okay. And we'll do a little bit of an introduction and then we'll jump into the key factors for legacy building. What are the things that we need to really hone in on, with regards to legacy building? And then we'll go through a couple of case studies of 2 companies that have been around for more than a few decades. Okay. And then we'll conclude with some ideas of, what some lasting things that you can take with you, some takeaways, so that you'll be able to know how you do this and how you can do this efficiently and effectively. Okay, let's go to slide number 2. Okay. So legacy building for entrepreneurs, utilizing some long-term strategies. And I mean, I'm not talking about just your standard operating procedures. I mean, really putting in the time to create strategies for generational wealth, generational legacy. It calls for implementing plans that transcends the generation and having this planned concept. And we remember yesterday we kind of talked about having these backwards business planning moments where you look at your end result and you course your path back to your day one. Well, this is really an adaptation of something like that, because you want sustained success and growth, and the only way you're going to get sustained success and growth is if you're able to have a plan that exceeds just your generation. Okay, you got to be able to have something sustainable. Okay, and so but then you also have to foster a culture of innovation. It's more than just creating a plan. You have to be able to understand, how do you iterate and how do you innovate on top of that iteration. You want to be able to encourage creativity within your family and have a forward thinking concept to adapt to changing market landscapes, because we talked about how the landscape of business, it adapts basically to changing times, to markets, to technology. And so for that reason, you have to be able to adapt to that, to the landscape of business, so that you can have a way of thinking in front of change, future proofing your business. So then you got to be able to invest in succession planning. I mean, and we're talking about really investing in the people, not the plan. Okay. A lot of us will spend a lot of time in writing and structuring, and these are really good things. But unless you're able to develop out your future leaders, their family members, your children, your grandchildren, so that you can have this seamless transition, and the continuity in your business where nothing will ever stop, then you will not be able to have a foolproof plan. Let's go to the next slide, please. And as we're looking at this, we want to look at the efficacy. Effective leadership drives success. Strong leaders guide the company towards growth, stability, and longevity. But strong leaders also understand that there's some people that are coming behind you, and you've got to make sure that you put in place something for them to have the guardrails, to keep them in tow, to keep them really working towards the growth and stability and the longevity. I have seen some things in family businesses that have demonstrated when, one generation left out and another generation came in, how certain things weren't done to make sure that there was the guidance that was there, so that the people who were taking over, the children or the grandchildren who were taking over, and sometimes it is the grandchildren. Let me make sure I make that very clear. Sometimes we live long enough to run our business such that our children who are working in the business are getting a lot older, but the ones who really have the desire, the drive, the energy to take the company to the next level are probably going to be the grandchildren. And so the children may not really be working the business that long. They might be sitting on the board, okay? But in terms of actually working the company, that might end up being the grandchildren. And I want you to be very clear about that. And so when you are putting your energy into making sure that the succession plan is properly done, you got to be thinking about who your next step up is. Who is it that's going to actually step up to run the company? I have seen some things, and I've talked to my own children, and I know that they probably wouldn't mind me sharing this, but I had one child tell me, I saw how hard you worked as an entrepreneur, and I didn't want nothing to do with entrepreneurship. Now she's running her own company now, but I mean, she was like, man, it seems like you never stopped. You didn't have any time for breaks. And, and she was really being honest with me as she was sharing. sharing. And I thought about what a disservice it was, to my children to not give them all sides of the entrepreneurial journey. They saw the part of me staying up late at night and having to, sometimes bring in extra money to support the business while the business was young, because I was bootstrapping. Okay. And just in case you don't know what that means, I was actually creating the company out of my own funds. I didn't go to the bank and get a loan when I got started. I didn't bring in investors when I got started. And, although it probably would have been a good idea in some of the endeavors that I had for me to have done that, it was just not something that I really wanted to do, because I was so clear about not wanting to owe anybody anything, as from the very beginning. I just made that decision. And so there are a lot of, bootstrappers out there. And I don't know if any of you guys are watching this that are bootstrappers, but if you are, just, put a thumbs up, okay? Or put your name of your company in the chat, because you understand, the importance of being able to start strong. And maybe when you get to a certain place where you have demonstrated the value of your company, then going back and getting, some investors or getting a loan or something like that, but for me, it was just never something that I desired. And I have been in a class, or I should say in school, getting another master's degree. I'm actually doing two masters right now, but one of the ones that I'm doing is in innovation and entrepreneurship. And in that particular program, we had a panel discussion with some amazing entrepreneurs from all over the country. And they were talking about how they all got started. And every single person on that panel bootstrapped. Not one person went and got a loan. Some of them, after they were 5 years in business, they went and did the family and friends, deal. They showed them the returns and, what they were doing. And so family and friends put in money so that they had the ability to go to their phase 2, or, some people who were actually in tech, they were going from alpha to beta and they needed a little money. And so they pulled in funds from, friends, who, and some friends put in a lot of money. And, those of you who have ever known anything about WhatsApp or, Yahoo or some of these other, tech companies, they all had some similar stories where they had family and friends, okay, who weighed in at some point, and some of them were heavy hitters. They came to the table with millions of dollars. And so when we're looking at it from that standpoint, you want to be able to make sure that you're driving success and you are putting things in place so that there's a roadmap, a path that people can actually track and see and understand. How do we grow this company? How do we make it stable? And how do we make it sustainable? How do we make sure that there's longevity in it? Then the other thing that you want to be doing is making sure that you have values that shape your company's identity. That is huge, because I have seen people whose value system was all over the place. It was driven by whatever was going on in the trends at the time. So when diversity and inclusion was a big deal, then the value systems incorporated that. Why? Because they wanted to be seen as socially responsible in the marketplace. And so my thing is that if you can actually take a step back and establish the value system that you want for your company from the very beginning, and shape the company's identity with those values, the core values that define your organization's essence, that builds trust and loyalty with your clients and customers, as well as the employees that work there, you are going to build a strong company. And so we want to make sure that we're really pushing that forward, because I don't know of any strong companies that are extremely successful that have some kind of value system that changes, with the wind. The value systems of those companies that I am thinking of that are in the forefront of my mind have been there. They value their people. They value the brand. They value, the customers that they serve. They value even the way that they do business, and being able to be seen as somebody that has integrity. That is really important to a lot of these very strong companies. The other thing is cultivating a resilient organizational culture is very key. Having a positive culture fosters employee engagement, it builds resilience in your business, and it gives you adaptability. And so it's important for you to do that. Next slide, please. So here's some key factors for legacy building in a company. Inspiring trust through value-based leadership. You want to be able to have values that you are integrating into your leadership style so that you can enhance trust and ethical decision-making. This is crucial for sustainable success. When your next level of managers or owners, the children that you are bringing into the business, maybe it's not your children, maybe it's your nieces and nephews or your cousins or siblings, or maybe it is your grandchildren, whoever it is, you want them to see you in a way that they can trust what it is that you've done and emulate it. I mean, really replicate your style of doing business, and if they see you as being ethical in your decision making, it is all the more important, in the company, because everyone that is in the company will be making decisions, from that same standpoint. It's crucial. It is crucial if you want to sustain your company and pass those things on. You've got to be able to inspire trust. And you inspire trust when you are putting together your value-based leadership in such a way that people can see that model and come up behind you doing the same thing. The other thing is having cultural alignment drives innovation and success. When you are able to align company culture with innovation goals, it boosts creativity. If your people that are working with you, if they're your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, whoever it is working with you right now, have the same level of thought process in terms of, how we're innovating in our company and when we can introduce these innovations and the way that we collaborate to become this company that has fresh ideas and has an enduring competitive edge, one that is a unique value proposition, something that people are looking at and saying, I want to do business with them because they're always on the forefront of something. One of the most important things that has happened to our company is when I have had the opportunity to hear what other people have said about us, the feedback. And one of the things that I get from my clients sometimes is, man, you guys are always adding new technologies, and sometimes it's hard to keep up with all the things that you're doing, and I get it. Because for them, they want, things that they can trust and that they can say, okay, we've been, this is how we do certain things. It's like every time I come to the website, there's something else added. And so we had to really take a moment to think about how do we introduce new things to clients, because we don't want them to feel like, we're making these decisions off the cuff, because we're not. We take a lot of time before we actually make a decision to ditch a software or to make a change to the website, or for that matter, to add something new. I mean, we have got to know that the value of what we're adding is so tremendous that it's worth the flack that we might get from a client when they come and see something different, or when they get an email saying, okay, guys, we're doing this now. We're no longer sending over anything in email. We're only using our client portal, and this is the portal we're going to use, and this is why. And it becomes a situation where you have to get them to buy in, because they're stakeholders just like you are. And so you want them to be able to trust that when you make a change, when you've innovated, it is really for their benefit and the benefit of the company at large, and I mean, we really don't make changes unless it's for the benefit of ultimately for our customers, and secondly, for our staff. We've got to be able to know that when we put something out there, we put it out there because everybody wins. Everybody wins. And so it's important for you to align the company's culture with the goals, and so that you can have some creativity, but then you've got to make sure that when you introduce something, you introduce it in a way that people understand what the goal was. because when they get on board, they're going to drive it all the way down the track. And trust me, I'm telling you, I do believe what it is that I am saying. I had a client that we were with last week when we were traveling, and we had introduced a particular software, and we've been using that software, for the company's portal, where a client can get their files out of that. And it's a secure portal that allows them to be able to go there and know that their documents are safe there, and that they can, if they're in a situation where they can't physically carry the document with them, but they want to access it when they get to where they're going, they have a place where their documents live that they can trust is secure, and they can trust they can always get into. It's not going to be down. There's not going to be some issue with the server or anything like that. And it was funny because the client said to us as we were traveling, back to where we are, to our location, he said, I've been watching you guys, you use this software. Should I be using the software too with my clients to keep their information secure? And it's really funny how clients trust us with the technologies that we use, because we are a technology rich company. One of the colleges that we work with, when I was in a meeting, about a couple of years ago, they had me to actually present several things that we were doing in our company to their entire staff. And it was quite a few people on this line. I want to say it was probably more than 100 people at that time on the line. And I was sharing with them what it is that we do, how we do it. I shared with them the technologies that we use and why we use those technologies, how long we'd been using those technologies, how long we tested the technologies before we actually introduced it to a client, and our process for, using newer things. And even when we innovate by adding, because we have some intellectual property ourselves, and when we added some of the things that we're doing into our ecosystem, we went through a process of, showing the clients how it was going to work, and getting them prepared over a period of time. And when we actually launched, there was a different attitude about what it is that they received, because of the fact that we made it, something that they would really appreciate. We showed them the value in the intellectual property. And so that was really important. And so I want to share that with you, because I think it's important for you to understand, when you are collaborating and coming up with something new so that you can increase or improve your unique value proposition, or, and add to your competitive edge, you want to make sure that you share in a way that everyone understands the value of what you've done and how this is going to actually make things better for them. Okay, because it's always a what's in it for me for a client. They want to know, well, how is this going to make my life better? Okay, I understand what it's doing for your company, but what is it going to do for me? What are the features and what are the benefits? Okay, and so you want to make sure you're able to share that with them so that they can take on this new perspective in a way that makes sense. And then you want to embrace the family involvement. Okay, you're talking about transferring something to your family members that will not necessarily be something that they can understand if you don't, show them that it's for them. So you've got to be able to do that. You have to be able to help them understand that this is a preservation of our family values, and the long-term vision needs to be right there in their face, whether it's on the walls or in the halls, or if it's in the logo. It's got to be in something that they're seeing, and so that it can be living and breathing, and they can really engage with it, in order for them to align. Okay, next step, next slide. Okay. Well, you know what? Go back to Brian. Go back to the previous slide, because I want to show something. Okay, so this particular slide is a case study. And before I do this case study, I want to just tell you, I have a list of families here. We'll talk about these two, but there is, when I say a list, I mean a real serious list. Okay. This particular slide encompasses 2 families, but I'm going to go to my 4 through 10, and then we'll come back and look at these 2. So Shirley Plantation, which is located in Virginia, has been this in the same family since 1613. It's the oldest business in the country in the United States of America. It's been passed down through generations, maintaining its historical significance. And if you want to learn about it, I'm going to give you a website you can go to where you can actually see information about it. You can get information about the Shirley Foundation on the National Conference of State Legislatures website. That's the ncsl.org. And they have a resource map, and you can actually put information in it. Just put in there, the oldest family business, okay? And it'll pull up the Shirley Plantation. And so I know some people might have some feelings about this, and this is not meant to pull anyone into a situation where they have feelings about, the plantations. But I want to make sure that you understand from a standpoint of family businesses, what this business was all about. So it has been in the same family since 1613. And like I said, it's the oldest business in the country. And some New England farms, also were established in the 1600s. And so there are a lot of those farms that still exist today. And this is one of them. Okay. So, when you're looking at, the oldest family business, you want to understand, why it was around and, what it is that it was able to do, to become successful. A lot of people don't understand that, there's something that goes into making a company great and making it last. And so if you go to historicshirley.com, then you'll be able to see. And you know what, Jemima, I know you said I could share my screen. How do I do that? Let me see. Hold on. Oh, you know what? I see here. Share screen. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see. We're going to see if we can share here from Safari. And I'm doing this on the fly, guys. So, it may not be as smooth as it needs to be, but, we're hopeful here that we can actually show what we were trying to show. Okay. Is there a way for me to know what people can see? Okay. I don't think that I'm able to make this happen because I'm not sure. Oh, I know how I can do it. There we go. I can share it from the screen that I am in. Okay. Wonderful. Like I said, we're going to make this happen on the fly. So we're going to show the window that I am in. Here we go. Okay, I'm hopeful that everybody is seeing this screen, but this is historic Shirley, and this is the Shirley Plantation. And so, people can visit there. They have tours, they have a shop, and they show, everything about the plantation. And, and so I know that in the mind of some people, they're probably wanting to know if there were ever slaves on this plantation. And I'm sure there were initially. But the thing is that we have to understand this is in Virginia. And so whereas there may be some things that might be, offensive about it. Again, today, what we are looking at is just the fact that there is a family that was able to have a business that exceeded, their expectations, that still is in their family today. And so when we are looking at, what it is that, we're seeing They have a descendant community for people who are descendants of the Shirley family. They've got all of this information here on their website. They existed since 1613. And so I think that that's a really an awesome thing, to be able to have, something that has existed that long. Okay, now I need to know how to stop sharing. Okay, Javon, can you go take me back to my other slides? Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. So, as we're looking at these different families, the couple of other families that popped up for me were the Walton family, the Walmart. They have Walmart Inc. And then, of course, they have the Business Trust, right? So, Sam Walton in 1962 started Walmart and grew it into a retail giant, and through Walton Enterprises, that's how it's being managed now. But it started off, as a family-owned business, and because it started off as a family-owned business, it's a part of the largest family businesses in the world in terms of revenue. And, we have a way of knowing, a little bit more about the Walmart family's enterprises, of course, because it's been used in lots and lots and lots of movies and books, and case studies have been done on this family for years. They're at, in revenue in 2020, they were at $559 billion. And, that's a huge, they were at the top. They were the top family business of all of the family businesses in the United States in terms of revenue and size. So we want to take a look at them. And of course, the next one was Berkshire Hathaway, being the next family business on the list. Okay. And so, but as we're looking at these family businesses, we want to be thinking about a few things. How did they start? How did they keep the family business going even during tough times? We think about Chick-fil-A. It's another family business started by S. Truett Cathy in 1946. So it was started before Walmart. And it remains under the control of the Cathy family now. S. Truett's son, Dan and Donald Cathy, currently serve as CEO and executive vice president of the company. And so it's in that top 10 list as well, because they were a small mom and pop that grew. It's kind of the little engine that could. And so when we're seeing it from that standpoint, we want to be thinking about, what is it that it takes for a family to stay together to be able to run a company. There are 5.5 million family businesses in the United States, and which account for 57% of America's gross domestic product currently, and 63% of our workforce is family-run businesses. So when we're thinking about these family businesses, we got to be thinking about the fact that there's something to be said about what can happen when a family gets together and they make a decision to stay in business. BMW is another family business, okay, family-run business. They started in 1916, and they became known as BMW. Gunther Quandt founded it, and it has stayed in the family. And so you want to be thinking about these types of businesses. The Carnival Corporation, right? We know about Carnival, okay? Those of us who are very, very interested in this company that now has multiple cruises, different types of cruises, but they started with one single ship, and it was called the Mardi Gras. And that started in 1972. And so it's really still a lot of the company is owned by the family. It was started by Ted Arison, and his children, Mickey and Sharon, still own the largest stake in the company. So this is really important for you to understand. Of course, Comcast, another family-owned business. It was started in 1963 by Ralph Roberts, and the family still owns about 33% of the company to this day. Ford Motor Company, another one, has annual revenues of more than $150 billion. And the company is the second largest automaker in the United States and the fifth largest in the world. And that revenue projection that I talked about, that was in 2019, that they actually hit 156 billion. So of course we know it's more than that now. And the family still owns about a 40% stake in the company. Then Estee Lauder, in 1946 is when they came into being, and their company is the second. I want to say that it's one of the biggest names in the beauty industry right now. And because some of my data is a little old, I don't want to, point out where they sit in amongst the beauty companies, but they are one of the biggest names, and they are today second and third generations of this family are served within the company even now. And Esty and Joseph's son Leonard serves as the chairman emeritus, and both Leonard and Joseph's children serve in executive roles within the company. And then there's Dell Computers, started by Michael Dell from his college dorm room in 1984. And it is still a family-owned company. They merged with computer storage company EMC in a $60 billion deal, but the Dell family still has a 75% stake of that company. Aldi, one of my favorites on this list. Okay, it was started by Theo and Carl Albrecht, and they turned a corner thrift store into a low-cost supermarket, and they called it Aldi. And it's one of the biggest reasons that companies like Walmart struggled to gain a foothold in Europe is because of Aldi. But, in 1979, Aldi acquired the supermarket chain Trader Joe's. And so a lot of people don't know that, but yes, Trader Joe's is now owned by Aldi. Theo Albrecht died in 2010, and his sons Theo Jr. and Bert Holt inherited the family fortune. And to this day, the family still owns 100% of their business, which is amazing. And then, of course, I mentioned already Berkshire Hathaway, which is a legendary dairy company, started by Warren Buffett in 1965. And they have a number of other firms that they own, including Geico and Dairy Queen and Helzberg Diamonds. But Berkshire Hathaway, they have so many companies, okay, that they have assisted in becoming companies, as well as, they've sold some of those, but they kept some. And they have been just an enormous benefit to the landscape of entrepreneurship. So now let's just talk about these two, Hoshi Ryokan and Fondaria Pontificia Marinelli. I don't speak really, really good Italian. I apologize. But these two companies, there's something to be said about them. And in this particular case study, I want to talk about how both of them were able to maintain market adaptability. They were able to adapt to the conditions in the market, so that they could ensure the their relevance and competitiveness and longevity in business. It was really important, for both of these companies to, do a few things that would make them exist for more than over 1,000 years. Hoshi Ryokan, founded in 718 AD in Japan, is the oldest continuously operating company in the world. It's been run by Hoshi family for over 1,300 years, and it has definitely adapted to things over the years, from, having to maintain a strong reputation for quality and for good customer service. And so it's very important that you understand these survival secrets, okay, of these older companies, because there's something that have kept them in business for the length of time, that they've been there. So there's some family values that you want to be thinking about when we're looking at these companies. You know, the way that they have intertwined their family's business with their culture of their family has created something that has caused this multi-generational business to stay true to the core values so that they could stay in business. They were able to um, you know get beyond some of the issues that most people face in families. Only 30% of all family businesses make it to the second generation, and 3% last for more than 4 generations or beyond. So we want to understand that bigger number that I gave you earlier, showing how the family business landscape is in America, we do want to understand that getting from one generation to the next generation can be a challenge. And you have got to be able to have something that helps you maintain that market adaptability, and that helps you preserve the craftsmanship and the tradition, so that people can, get something to see your brand as being a brand that they want to do business with, something that, has sustained success. And then you got to be able to embrace family involvement. Family continuity fosters legacy and commitment. It values preservation, those values preservation moments that are there, when, one generation might decide that they, feel a certain kind of way about how the other generation decided that they wanted the company to dress. Okay. These are really important things, but there has to be a long-term vision alignment, in order for you to be able to stay in business for more than, 5 years. And so when we start talking about generations that have been around for 46 generations, and, there are 5,000 companies in the world that have been around for more than 200 years. But 60% of those are in Japan. And so when we're looking at that, we got to be looking at what is it about the Japanese culture that really does allow for this to be a sustainable thing, that a family can own a business and stay in business for multi-generations. Okay, next slide, please. So our second case study looks at these two companies, Zillion Symbol and Marchesi Antonori. Okay. And so these particular brands I want to talk about because there's something to be said about how they have been able to stay relevant. The Zildjian cymbal company, and I know about these cymbals because my brother played drums and he had Zildjian cymbals. My husband plays drums, and and I've had other people in my life that have played drums. And I tell you, there's a difference between a Zildjian cymbal and just another cymbal. Okay. They were founded in 1623 in Turkey, and the Zildjian Cymbal Company has been run by their family for over 400 years. The company has thrived by focusing on quality and innovation while preserving their family traditions. And so this is what has helped them to really stay in business. Balancing tradition and innovation really did help to make sure that the company could continuously be in business. They've achieved a dynamic equilibrium between tradition and innovation, which sustains relevance and competitiveness. I'm just sorry. I don't know of another cymbal that really most drummers will want to have, okay? Because this particular company has been able to break the mold on what it is that they did, and nobody can come close. Now, that's my opinion, but there may be some drummers that feel differently, but I'm just saying that from what I have seen, being a musician all of my life, and, graduating from, one of the top music schools in the country, at the time, Zildjian was the word that I heard more frequently than not from the drummers. Okay. And so this company being around and doing what they have done in business has been a tremendous setting of a bar, um, for most people. And so these takeaways, that we're going to talk about in a few minutes, you have to understand that family bloodlines run deep. And when a family can focus in on doing something that they can pass on to the children and to the children's children, it really does create what's called an alchemy of success and longevity. Um, the symbols, that have been created by this company have been used by some of the most famous bands in the world, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. And so I want you to really be thinking about that because it's really important. Duran, can you go back just for a second to that previous slide? I want to just share one more thing there. Okay, thank you. We've got to perpetuate family involvement. It's not enough for you to run the company and then just pass it to your kids. You got to make them a part, the whole time so that they will be able to see that long-term vision, that I talked about a little bit ago. Okay. And then you got to have some global impact. Okay. As well. The two companies, both the Antonori company and the Zildjian company, these companies are well known, for global impact. They weren't just companies that stayed in their lane in their country. This Italian winemaker, Marchesi Antonori, they were established in 1385, and they've been run by their family for more than 600 years. And they've maintained their success by balancing, again, tradition with innovation. They have been able to make sure that their company's impact was not just in Italy, but it's been imposed on the entire world. So that's something we got to be thinking about when we're talking about, the innovation. Now, please go to the last slide. Thank you. So as we turn the corner, this has been, quite impactful, I'm sure, to learn a little bit more about how families keep their businesses together and, and to learn of some of the families that have been around for, not just decades, but, for, we're looking at, being around for years. Promoting family involvement, family engagement strengthens legacy, commitment, and preserves values, ensuring long-term vision alignment. Nurturing core values, upholding core values fosters a strong company identity, building trust and loyalty. And then, of course, encouraging continuous innovation. You want to remain relevant. So you've got to be able to innovate, and it does drive adaptability and competitiveness in an evolving market landscape, in business. And so we want to make sure that we're constantly at the forefront. And the way we do that is by helping everyone who is in the family to understand, how we do business and what it is that we are going to do to remain relevant. And so I apologize for those of you who weren't able to see some of the, when I was trying to share, to see what it was that I was sharing, but we'll try to make some of those things available to you in terms of the URL, so you can go and visit the websites and see the information that I did, put up there when we were trying to share earlier, because I think it's really important for you to be able to do your own deep dive and to see what other families are doing. And so you can get ideas, for your family business, if you're running a family business, or get ideas to understand how you can create an alchemy of success and longevity. Well, this has been Patience Rose, and we have been here live with Red Worldwide, and we look forward to those of you who have been here with us, being here with us on another day when we talk about, legacy, so that you can see, some other tools that you might use to begin to put together your family's business. And we look forward to seeing you again next time.